Dumb Ways to Die. This one is sort of a tale of two powders, is the way I would best sort of describe this one. The first powder is innocuous enough, something that everyone's probably familiar with. It's in everything. It's just citric acid, powdered citric acid. The other one is, we'll get into it a little bit later. It's sort of not verified, but the other powder is a little thing called silver fulminate. Silver fulminate is something that you probably aren't going to run across as an average everyday person, but if you are a chemist or even deft at some level of chemistry, it's something that's pretty easy to synthesize and process, just in a very basic chemistry setup. It's to the point where certain chemical compounds you can accidentally make silver fulminate. Silver fulminate is also an extremely volatile substance. And this is where we get into the story. I'm going to not say their full names just because, I don't want to be disrespectful in any way, but I'll just sort of use just their first name. So this is the story of Vlad, a young student in the Ukraine. And yes, he was a chemistry student. And he, in order to try to excel, he was taking a lot of his work home, and he had a basic chemistry setup in his house in order to continue to do his homework and do random experiments sort of himself. He also had a very strange habit. And maybe it's not as strange as I think it is, but when you go to the movie theater and you see how many Sour Patch Kids get sold, it makes some sense that Vlad used to take his chewing gum, and as it would lose its flavor, he would dip it into just powdered citric acid just to sort of liven it back up, and he would continue to chew on it as he would do his studies. The problem is, in his chemistry set at home, it's very well believed he dipped his gum into the wrong substance. The reason I bring up silver fulminate is because it's sort of the only one that chemically makes sense. It's unverified because the police actually destroyed it without testing it because they deemed it too volatile to run tests on. But going through all the research, this is the only thing that makes sense where it's something that he would have access to or have access to have the ability to make as just a basic chemistry student, and something that is volatile enough to do what it did. So the nature of silver fulminate, and you and I and everyone is actually quite familiar with silver fulminate. Silver fulminate is what is used in those little snapping things at 4th of July that you throw at your brother's toes to piss him off. Silver fulminate is, and that's what it is it's so volatile that just throwing it on the ground will cause it to pop. Now, in one of those little itty bitty things, right, that's 99.99999% sawdust. Only 80 micrograms are used to make one of those popping things. So
snaps.
I actually had to look it up because I thought a microgram was actually more than, and it was. It actually takes 1 million micrograms to make a milligram. So 1 gram of silver fulminate would be about 12,000 of those poppers going off at once. So I don't know how many grams sticks to wet chewing gum, but I imagine it's 1/4 to 1/2 gram. So when he put it back in his mouth, as soon as he bit down on it, it exploded with probably the force of anywhere from 3,000 to 6,000 of those little snapping fireworks. And the explosion goes off. His parents are in the other room. He lives at home with his family. And they rush into the room and they find him on the ground. And he has actually blown his entire lower jaw off of his body. And it was literally the other side of the room from him. And so he actually blew his face off with chewing gum. Seems like a pretty dumb way to die to me.